it.
Currently, I mean, endless supply of those too. How many fucking harpoons did they shoot out that raid to the observatory? It was at least 10 each by the end. And
it was amazing. Well, yeah, it was like Batman had already used like 5 of them, and then he's holding on to 2 people and a telescope, and he's like, I just happen to have this one here that has 2, so I'll just fire that up into the air. It'll anchor onto 2 things, and I'll pull you guys up.
Yeah, it's a double shot.
That's where the terminal velocity one came. It was just like...
terminal velocity times 3, right? Because there's 3 of them. And
I can't help thinking, somewhere in the universe, there has to be something better than man. There has to be. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ascension to 10.
All right, here we are. Back with another one.
We've made it back.
In the studio.
Ahead of schedule for once, Spenny.
Yeah, now we're just on fire.
It's like the old days.
It's like when the simpler days, when things were simple.
Yep.
Anywho, but here we are.
We're back.
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good.
Good. What is this gift that you have? I mean, all this.
Well, it's
stuff.
Relevant.
All right. Okay.
Relevant to our movie this week.
Foreshadow, as they say.
Yep. It's about to get all chilly in here. About to get cold.
Mine is the closest thing I could find.
The thing is, so I'm wearing these dumbass goggles, right? I didn't wear my contacts today.
Yeah.
And so I can't see anything right now. So I have to be really close.
Well, the audience can literally see your screen, so you can see both people.
Good.
So if you're watching, this is a nice plug for the Ascension to 10 podcast YouTube channel. Check it out.
YouTubes. That's right.
Like, review, and subscribe.
Yeah, let's get that plug out of the way.
Yeah. You can also find us on our socials at Ascension 2 TEN, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and the aforementioned YouTube channel, Ascension to 10 Podcast. And then email us at boys@ascension10.com, where we always love recommendations for movies, which we have this week. So that's good.
That's right, Spenny. You did it.
2 in a row, to be frank. Now we're getting a backlog. Nice.
Backlog of Rex.
Yep. Another good one, too.
So I'm just trying to get rid of my... I don't want to dox myself here. Well, the stuff that's on the screen.
I kind of feel I kind of feel like we're all getting a VR experience here, Jack. See your fucking hands and moving around.
Oh, you can see my hands too? Okay.
Yes.
What else can you see? Because I can't see shit. I can't even see the fucking screen. So
I can see the screen where you have us. I can see the other screen that has your notes on it. I can.
Hell yeah, brother.
It's amazing. Appreciate that. It's a nice little Easter egg for everybody.
Can you actually read the notes?
No, I can't. That's not that good. I can just see.
All right.
It's way blown out, so I can't tell what it is. But
I guess, yeah, maybe one day when we, I mean, we have these 4K cameras, right? And we
can't use 4K.
We can barely export in 1080p with our current system, and so maybe one day when we get our 8K set up, you'll be able to read those notes.
Yeah, right. That reminds me, I forgot to plug in tonight, so we'll see how this goes. Kind of an oversight on my side.
I remembered at the last millisecond, but the thing is, it's fine right now, which makes me wonder if I've been the problem the whole time.
Well, I don't know. Guess we'll find out. I also I don't have anybody else in the house besides my kids. My wife is usually watching some sort of show or streaming, so I was wondering if that impacted it too. So extra variables.
Limited bandwidth.
My
you can
2
see my hands and
gigabit
everything?
internet that I still pay for that I don't need, but
it's likely you never needed it in the first place to solve this problem.
It was hardware issue, not internet issue. Anyways, whatever.
I do miss the days when and maybe this is still partly the case, but you having to run a 300-foot Ethernet cable across your house.
Oh fuck yeah, it's still the same. I mean, that aspect hasn't changed. It's like an event. It's like an event. So last week we got them out because we had the issue a couple weeks ago. So then just rolling out this giant blue cable across, the entire length of our house, because the internet, the Ethernet plug is across the house. So I have to strike it across, and you can trip over it because it's in the walkways of everything. So it is what it is. Whatever.
Yeah, that's part of the charm. Although I have to say, my favorite aspect of your setup was the continuous evolution of your microphone stand, and how did you just rage quit that recently, right?
I'm just back to the regular mic and just gave up. Had one of those ones that folds, and well, it's because I have a desk. I have a hand-me-down desk from my father-in-law, and it works fine for work. But now that we do this podcast, it doesn't have a lip that's wide enough to grab for all these different mics. So I had it in the desk behind me, and I got rid of that table that was behind me. And then I tried to put it into the drawer, and it was just folded in half.
That was my favorite part.
Exactly the same as this.
It was like this, right? It's just like a half Z right on your face.
It was such a waste. It still fell off. So I was like, whatever, I give up.
Well, I mean, what you got going on now is better than the first few episodes that we did when you were in the basement on the kids' chair and you had a whole setup on the music stand, right?
This is amazing.
And
that music stand, by the way, is holding up surround sound speakers right now. So
let's go.
That's been the evolution down in the basement right now. I'm trying to have a little bit better audio when it comes to watching all these movies. So I've got some new speakers and stuff down there. I've been messing with where I put them, and now I don't have anywhere to put them, so I put them on the music stand. They sound great. Anyways.
That's epic.
Yeah, but it's been quite an evolution. I still am debating whether or not I'm going to do another one in the basement at some point, just so I can get some nostalgia on it, but we'll see.
Yeah. The thing is, it just am thinking that the audience never got to appreciate that, because that was back when that was before we uploaded video content to the YouTube page.
Yeah, I wonder if we have. We might have a picture of it somewhere. We'll see.
Yeah, that was when that couldn't have gotten just more jank, that initial setup and what we were doing and trying to figure out just the way we were going about producing this show.
We've gotten again, just gotten much better.
It's just gotten better, but just stayed the same.
Yeah. Well,
the amount of problems have stayed the same.
Yep. But we are, someday we will have that 8K, without a doubt.
Yep.
I mean, it's just
we'll be recording locally in 8K and uploading 1080p to YouTube. Compressed 1080p.
Fucking nailed it.
All right, Spenny, I got a new segment tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, this is
this might be so I can't remember all the different segments, right, that I've come up with.
I just appreciate you throwing it out there and trying new things. I mean, it's great. So
let me give you a little bit of background before we jump in and before I tell you what's going to happen tonight. So Well, let me ask you something first. In your
Great.
college swimming days, did you set any records for school records or anything?
Yep, still stand.
Okay. At Luther, you still have a record for something?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
How would you like to
records are
add to your
meant
catalog?
Be broken. Oh, sure. Let's do it. Let's break some records.
You want something else to your another notch on your belt?
Yeah. Love it.
Okay. All right. I'm not kidding around here. This is serious, okay?
Okay.
And for the audience, this is legit. Okay. This is 100% legit. Let's take this seriously. All right. Here's what happened.
Do you always just hold on before we go? Okay. Do you always sit with your hands like this when you're talking on the podcast?
I don't know.
This is a weird.
Is everything on display?
Yeah.
I literally can't see fucking shit, man. I can't see anything.
Okay, go ahead.
I can see the white dot up there.
Yeah, you look like you have your hands like you're folded your hands into them and you're sitting with them right in front of you. Oh, this is gonna be great. Now you're putting glasses
over top my goggles here so I can. Oh yeah. Is there anything behind me that's on display?
No, I can't see anything behind you.
Right. Well, I'm sorry,
I didn't mean to derail this great new segment, and we're gonna break records, so I can't wait.
Yeah. Okay, so here's what started this. So I don't think we ever talked about this on the show. We had barely ever mentioned this between each other, but I don't chew my nails or anything, but I like to have my nails pretty short at all times. Mm-hmm. So I'm clipping them all the time and making them so that they're not long, right? I hate it if they're long, right?
Yeah.
And long, I mean, they're
I'm glad I can
more
see
than
right
where
now.
past the skin, right? So
it's great.
Okay. Well, a few days ago, they had gotten out of control, man. They were just, it was chaos over here with the length of my nails. Time to do something about this. Drastic measures.
Get the hedge clippers out.
It was insanity over here. There was riots and I was, just freaking out. Anyways, it made me think of sometime around middle school time. So early 2000s. I remember getting this. Did you ever get Guinness Book Records books?
Did I? I got them
with the hologram.
Year. Oh hell yeah! Every year for Christmas, that was my thing.
Right, that was a Christmas gift, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know the year, but do you remember
an
entry for
2000? It was the Green Book, right, with the hologram on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. But I think it was the Green Book, whatever year that was. But do you remember the homie in there from some Asian country that had the world's longest fingernails? And these things went down to the floor.
Yeah. Didn't he recently just cut them all off?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was time to go.
But it was
30 years with fingernails or whatever.
Yeah. It was like
or 50 years.
6 feet
they were they were
insane.
pretty gnarly, right?
Yeah,
they were all brown and just curly and stuff. And they looked like they were inch thick each.
Yeah.
And just insanity, right? But
yeah,
I don't know, maybe that's what sparked my OCD about clipping my fingernails, because it just grossed me out so much as a kid.
Yeah, man. That guy, and he was in there every year with his gross hands.
Yeah,
like they thought that was the coolest thing.
That's what sold those books, right? Is those fingernails. Yeah. I hope he got a royalty or something.
That and the tallest man in the world, and tallest man in the world, and tallest woman, and then the shortest person in the world, and shortest woman. That's it.
Yeah. And is there any other good ones? Well, anyways, at any rate, the fingernail things, I can still picture that image.
Yeah.
In my head, and it's been 20 years.
Well, it's because he holds it like this,
he's like
it's one hand. It was just one hand, wasn't it? Yeah, that was the big thing.
So he had his other hand to just chill with.
Well, yeah.
Like, how else do you expect
him to, do other things? Never mind.
had to have a minder, or what do you call those people that do stuff for you? Handler.
Had a hand
literally
handler, a hand handler.
Where's that room tap? All right. Anyways,
where's this going?
So this is going. I was thinking, you know what? These Guinness records, man, we could do one. And so I've been doing a little bit of digging, and I think there's a record up for grabs.
Okay.
If you want to attempt one tonight, right now,
unofficial, but
no, we're gonna submit this immediated after.
Okay,
we're gonna submit this footage. Okay.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so here's what my challenge is to you. Before the show started, I texted Spenny and I said, "Yeah, let's do tonight. Tonight works. By the way, do you have any sliced bread in the house?" He said,
"Yeah."
Yes.
Yeah, it literally was like, there was 2 texts. It was like,
"Hey, asking me that."
Like, "Hey, I'm almost done with this movie, and do you have 2 slices of bread?" Like, what?
Is that
you
texting the right person there?
That's what I thought. I was like, is that the right message? Okay,
so Spenny, so you have the bread with you right now, right?
I've got bread right
here.
Okay,
and specifically from where and what is the kind and everything?
It's farm to market bread, sourdough from Kansas City.
What a coincidence, Spenny. This coincidence is I can't even write this. Okay. The record that we're trying to break tonight is fastest decrust of 2 slices of bread, specifically farm to table Kansas City sourdough bread, while hosting a podcast. That's what we're going to do tonight, Spenny. Shut up. My challenge to you, I'm going to time it from my end, and we're going to see if you can break the record for decrusting. So just peeling off the crust, decrusting to peeling off the crust, 2 slices of bread consecutively while hosting a podcast. Okay. Sure. You have 2 there.
Can I do 2? Is there any rules on how to do it?
No. No, there's no rules. It just specifically has to be farm to table sourdough bread, Kansas City, while hosting a podcast. And if you can do this under 5 seconds, we get the record, baby. This is going to launch this podcast. So here's what's going to happen. Okay. I'm going to hold up my stopwatch.
Okay, I'll keep it in. I'll try to keep this in view.
Yep. So it's got to be in frame the whole time. And what's going to happen is there will be, I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, go. On go, you're going to start, and I'm going to start. Okay. And I will stop when I see you 2 pieces of uncrusted bread. Okay. So people, remember, I'm not kidding here. This is legitimate.
Man, my heart's
And Spenny had no time to prepare either. So this is as raw as it gets as real as it gets.
Is there a world record just in general for peeling 2 pieces of bread? Or is this just thought of Guinness Book World Records and you're like, fuck it, let's make one.
That is irrelevant, Spenny. Let's try the record. What we're trying to accomplish here is doing this with under 5 seconds.
What we're trying to do here is something amazing. All right.
So.
Okay.
So you're going to go on go, right? 3, 2, 1, go.
Sure.
We're both going to do this at the same time. I'm going to try and focus here. All right, people. If you are not at the edge of your seat, get ready
this
to be
is
on.
riveting stuff. I can't believe we
So, Spenny, you are a current record holder. Let's see if you can add another one to your belt. And here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go. All right, we got 2 seconds. We got 2 seconds down. 3, 4, 5.
Done.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is 6 seconds, 46.46 seconds. So
it's obviously a lag on your side.
Oh. Well, we had one opportunity for that and we blew it. So unfortunately,
well, better luck next year.
Unfortunately, the inaugural Let's Break a Record segment, Ascension 10 podcast, was an abysmal failure. Wasn't even close.
You know what's going to happen now, right, Chad?
What?
We're going to have to put this on the socials, and we're going to have to see if somebody can do it with live timing.
Yes. So I guess as it stands currently, the record to beat is 6 seconds, 0.46 seconds. Because that's what you just did it in.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and check because I'll be able to timestamp when I started and when I finished to make sure if you were accurate or not. But yeah, okay.
Well, okay, so add it in post then whether we
if it was close
got this record or not.
Okay.
So you can go frame by frame.
Yep.
And we'll get to the bottom of this. So hold on, fear not, people. We may have salvaged this segment yet.
We'll see. I don't know.
We'll see.
That was great.
So
good stuff, Chad.
Yet another new segment in the books. We'll have to see if it comes back.
Can I just ask, was it really you just thought of Guinness Book of World Records, or were you just looking at sourdough, or were you just...
I was thinking about my fucking nails, man. You're driving me nuts.
I bite my nails, so I don't have nails, so
yeah. So
it's a curse.
It was just one of those times where for once I had nails and I needed to do something about it. It reminded me of that guy with the gnarly nails in the book, and I thought, we can get in that book. 2024.
You know who else had nails? Catwoman. But she's not in this movie that we reviewed. But
that's tangential.
Nice
but
segue.
Related. So why am I wearing these goggles?
Yeah. Where are you? Why are you wearing goggles, Chad?
It's all about this bit that has something to do with IcedMan and
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
I'm gonna get one of my biggest criticisms out of the way right away. We're talking about Batman and Robin from 1997. It was a recommendation from our friend Doug, who is a listener. The reason he said we should review it is because it's the worst movie of the Batman, of all the movies that have been made. And I think I agree with him in the fact that one of the main characters is the bad guy. His name is Mr. Freeze. He is literally a doctor who is trying to Dr. Freeze save his wife, but they call him Mr. Freeze in the movie. He is a doctor. He is a literal doctor. Why would you not call him Dr. Freeze? Can anyone explain that to me?
That'll die with our civilization, and the future civilizations will unearth this and it's also the same thing of like.
It's also funny because this movie is called Batman and Robin, but when you look it up, it's Mr. Freeze and then Batman. Sometimes Robin's on there for like posters and stuff, but Mr. Freeze is the big ticket because it is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. To be fair,
you got to give Arnie props for going all in on this thing.
Yeah, homie really went in. Like he just went for it. And he had to put up with, I think, 37 ice puns in this movie. 27 ice puns in this movie. He made different jokes flawlessly every time. Okay.
I think my favorite was let's kick some ice.
Let's kick some ice. Goodness gracious.
His whole identity was just being cold.
It was, yeah. I mean, he did say, "IcedMan cometh." That was the other one. So,
yep.
Okay. Right. Let me give you a couple tidbits, and then we'll do a synopsis, and then we'll just jump into it. So, the Batman costume that George Clooney wears weighs 50 pounds. It's a rubber suit, and a 40-pound cape is attached to it.
Is that also rubber?
Yes,
leather or something?
It's also a rubber cape that they wore.
Wow.
And then Batgirl and Robin, their costumes also weighed 50 pounds, and Mr. Freeze's weighed 75 pounds. So Arnold was just walking around with a 75-pound just suit on for all this crap. Not to mention he had to shave his head, have his whole face painted blue for this because he looks like ice, I guess, sparkles. And it was just, man, I don't know. It's just
so I gotta
crazy.
say something off the top here that Arnie's appearance in this, every single scene reminded me of my band director for Nashville Community Band. Looked identical. And so I got to give a shout out to my buddy Chris from band. If you end up watching this movie, let me know if you think that looks like Jerry. And if Arnie looks like Jerry because of his shaved head and the just insanity. It's not a knock on Jerry. He's a homie, but
that's awesome.
It's just I couldn't stop thinking about that.
That's great. Okay. The other thing I want to say is, so Batman and Robin is a sequel to, oh crap,
is it Batman Forever? So I was looking through the HBO's.
Yeah, I think it's Batman Forever
options.
Yeah.
And so was that also George Clooney?
No. So it was Val Kilmer.
Okay.
And Val Kilmer decided. Same
Robin?
It's the same Robin. Yeah, it's Chris O'Donnell. Okay. But Val Kilmer had the opportunity to do The Saint, which is a pretty good movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it. From 1997. He kind of plays this agent. There's a cold fusion element in it. But he decided he was going to do that instead of this. And the director, I guess they kind of had this falling out, this Joel Schumacher with Val Kilmer. So he wasn't that against kind of not having him. And he was really excited because he thought George Clooney would be a great Batman, because at that point, George Clooney hadn't been in a lot of movies. He had been in ER. So he thought it was a good way to be a stepping stone to get him into film. So there was a nice little element of that. But I don't know. Yeah. But it kind of just yeah. What?
Well, I couldn't remember if Batman Forever was any good or not. If it was better or worse than this.
Yeah, a lot of the criticism for this comes from the writing. There was a new writer on this one, and they took this. They decided to make it more of like a more like comic, kind of funny, kind of elements.
Well, super
to it.
Campy. It's just,
super campy and
nuts.
I just don't think it worked. I don't think it worked. It was the way the characters worked, especially George Clooney. I didn't think it really worked with him. Like
he was the only one trying to be serious about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let me do a synopsis and then we can keep rolling in. In this nonstop action film, Dick and Bruce are introduced into new enemies of an actual doctor, but his name is Mr. Freeze, who turns everything into ice, and a girl who loves plants so much she's willing to kill people for it, and she has venom on her lips. They fight, and then they go to a gala, and then they fight, and then they go to a gala, and then they fight. And eventually the battle culminates in an epic final battle where Mr. Freeze turns a telescope into a giant ice laser cannon and freezes the planet. But then Batman uses actual solar rays to hit satellites and redirect Earth's light and save the world. That's it.
Nailed it. That's it. Nailed
At
it.
the end, they have all these satellites around the Earth. And they channel the light from the sun and they ping off all these satellites and then concentrate it into a telescope mirror. And then they shoot that out at Gotham to melt ice. Is that possible? Would satellites not melt?
Well, if they're 100% reflective, then they're just chilling out there.
Okay. All right. Well,
this did remind me of, there was a Pierce Brosnan Bond movie of largely the same premise, where
Die Another Day.
I think it was. Okay, yeah, was that his last one? No, well, GoldenEye did have a space laser, but I think it was Pierce Brosnan's last Bond movie, and it was something about a space beam that could harness the sun and make it super concentrated ray.
Oh, is that the one with Halle Berry in it?
Yeah, it's the one with the sweet car chase scene on the ice and stuff.
Yeah, that's the one where they
Aston and the Jag.
They swapped out the actual Aston Martin and Jaguars, and they put Ford Explorers underneath them.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Is it Tomorrow Isn't Enough?
Tomorrow Isn't Enough. I think you're confusing Tomorrow Never Dies and The World Is Not Enough.
Yeah, The World Is Not Enough.
Those two up. I think you were right the first time. Is Tomorrow Never Dies or
Tomorrow Never Dies was 97. It came out the same time as this film that we're talking about.
What?
Well, anyways, yeah.
How's that possible? Who cares? What? Anyways, no. Well, yeah, but theoretically, Spenny, I think.
Well, I mean, it's not the first time that they've done something like that. So yeah, it does. Die Another Day. That's what it is. It's Die Another Day.
Another day.
Yep. It's got Halle Berry in it. Anyways.
All right.
But yeah, there's been multiple times where they try to use the sun's energy to destroy the world. That's the one where, like, doesn't an airplane get blown up or something? It's North Korea. I know that.
Something about North Korea, and then they're on a 747 at the end. And
yeah.
The guy has a Nintendo glove that he's controlling the space beam.
Yep.
Sunbeam.
Okay.
Anyways, that makes more sense than this thing.
Yeah. I agree.
The whole first act of this movie is just Cirque du Soleil on ice, basically. It's just a bunch of wire work and people flying around and pirouettes in the air and stuff.
The first part of this movie, now knowing that it's a sequel, it makes more sense. But like the first 2 minutes, it's literally just Batman and Robin suiting up, and it's just like zoom in on like all their parts, like their crotch, their butts, and their ass, their nipples. Yes. So this is, you made a comment
that was right
last episode. Yeah, it definitely is the nipple suit.
They left the nipples off of Batgirl.
No, they didn't.
But
it's on there.
They didn't. Oh shit!
Yeah, they're pointy.
Well, did you notice a little Easter egg that Mr. Freeze also had nips on his biomechanical suit? They were just.
Oh, I did not. You didn't even notice that. I was just so fixated on making sure that those were. It's just like my first note. The second I saw it, I was like, "Yep, this is the nipple one."
Those nips, by the way, were just perfect cones. I think that's the best geometry.
Yeah,
or geometric shape that you could apply to those. It was just a like a party hat. Party hat.
Party hat. It was just so
perfect
weird.
Cones.
Like, why their butts? Like, what?
Hey, man,
what did that add? At first, I thought it was all just Batman, and I was like, why do they keep showing double shots of Batman? And then I was like, oh, it's Robin too.
Well, the first thing that made me think of, okay, so they're like suiting up, right? And if you can imagine them doing it dramatically, right? It's like put on the utility belt, click, buckle, click, greaves, or whatever on your forearms and stuff. And then Batman, he gets to put on the hood ornament or whatever you call that mask thing, right?
Yeah,
the whole thing that covers his neck,
it's attached
and his whole
to
head
his
and
cape.
stuff, and
it's attached to his cape.
Oh, right. But then Robin has that goofy little Morpheus eye mask thing, right?
Look at me.
But for him to logistically put that on, he had to apply so much eye makeup, right? Yeah. And so as Batman gets started, right, and he goes, "Okay, hang on, I'll be right there. I gotta put on this makeup because it's a separate entity from the mask, or a separate element from the mask." And
Wouldn't it make more sense though to actually put the thing on and then just fill it in?
Makeup after the fact?
Yeah.
I don't
Logic,
know.
like
Like,
I don't. Doesn't
I
matter.
mean, we'll have to
Anyways.
take it to the audience, right? I don't think it'd be easier to put the makeup on after the mask goes on.
I don't know.
And then you're always gonna have a border, right? I think you
Yeah.
got to overlap. You gotta make the eye
Yeah.
makeup
Okay. Yeah. No, you're
a
right.
larger
Because you
area
gotta.
radius.
Yeah, you've got to have it further than what the mask goes to. All right.
Gotta
never
have.
mind.
So they thought this through, man.
Yeah. I don't know. That's right. What they didn't think through is I don't understand why. So there's Batman and Robin, but there's a Batmobile, and then Robin has to take a motorcycle. Why can't they just drive in the same car? Why can't there be two seats? What does it help to have two vehicles? You're going everywhere together, right? I mean, you're Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that, yes, if you have to do separate missions, you can have separate vehicles, but why not have the same vehicle?
Especially considering that Robin's motorcycle is slow as shit, right? Because it couldn't make that jump off the observatory.
Well, I had a comment about that because so you have a car and a motorcycle going the exact same speed. Which one would travel a further distance? The motorcycle, less weight, so it's not going to have as much gravity pulling it down and weight pulling it down.
Therefore, yeah.
Anyway, this is like
I mean, couldn't a harpoon have shot out that headlight of the motorcycle right at the last second to catch him?
Yeah, I mean, it appears that no matter how you throw your harpoons or whatever utility belt things into the air, they always catch on something that will lock it. And for Batman, he doesn't even have to do that. He can just puncture metal walls, even though he's falling at terminal velocity going down, firing up, and somehow it has enough potency from just a wrist little actuator to shoot up to actually puncture steel and anchor. So that was, I was impressed by that. I mean,
it's a bat gadget.
Where do we get that? Sad that
currently, I mean, endless supply of those too. How many fucking harpoons did they shoot out that raid to the observatory? It was at least 10 each by the end. And
it was amazing. Well, yeah, it was like Batman had already used like 5 of them, and then he's holding on to 2 people and a telescope, and he's like, I just happen to have this one here that has 2, so I'll just fire that up into the air. It'll anchor onto 2 things, and I'll pull you guys up.
Yeah, it's a double shot.
That's where the terminal velocity one came. It was just like
terminal velocity times 3, right? There's 3 of them. And
that's amazing.
Oh man. Okay. So I can tell that we're probably not going to do too much specifics about the plot because there's just no point, right? But I do have to comment on that on the end of that first scene. Okay. Commissioner Gordon calls Batman after he's already in the car and he says, "Yo, what's up? Yeah, so we got something going on at the library." And this guy calling himself Mr. Freeze, by the way. And so he's killed a couple security guards at the library. And I don't know, you just got to get down there and see what's going on. And Mr. Freeze has this hockey team set of henchmen.
Yeah.
That apparently can only operate with ice skates. So for Mr. Freeze to do anything at the places he's trying to raid, he has to first make the place an ice rink. Just so that his henchmen can do their job.
Right.
But making chaos, right?
Yeah. There's one thing I want to say before we get to the hockey team. So you're talking about the commissioner. He goes, he calls him and says, "Batman, the Gotham of art is under attack and the antiquities section is frozen. He's calling himself Mr. Freeze." And then Batman just says, "Mr. Freeze." And then it cuts. to Mr. Freeze and then the hockey team. But it was just like,
it's like,
why?
You know, it made me think that for these Gotham criminals, they first have to submit an application about who they are, what their powers are, what they're going to try and raid, and then they have to submit that to the police so that the police can fill out their own report about what's happening. Yeah, so I'm Mr. Freeze. I freeze things, and I'm going to go steal some art. That's all you need to know, right?
I mean, the big thing for Mr. Freeze is like his suit runs on diamonds and his body has to stay at 0 degrees. So he just constantly is breaking in, stealing diamonds because his suit needs diamonds.
So, Spenny, can you explain, is the only reason that the suit runs on diamonds is that colloquially diamonds are called ice?
I don't know.
Like, as a...
I don't even know. I was wondering, because I was also wondering, like, how is that turned into cold energy? Like, how does it... Have we ever used that
diamond
as energy?
is inert carbon, right? There's nothing it can interact with. That's all a diamond is. And but I literally I think they use diamonds because they're just referred to as ice.
It could be. That's amazing. Well, that was literally one of my questions. The first thing when I saw him like pour the stuff into his little wrist thing to tell him that like he's at level.
And I know, like, but when he's in his lair, he's in his lair, right? He's in his ice robe, right? And he's walking around. He's been there for hours, right? Singing, like making his henchmen do this choir thing for Mr. Frosty or whatever. And then he just casually strolls over to his workbench and grabs some little diamonds and goes, energy. Like he just then needed it or thought of it or something.
He literally
but then he put it in his suit.
Yeah, he literally goes over there and he puts it in his suit. And I was like, why are you charging your suit right now? Like, you're not using it. Like, why are we putting diamonds in it and wasting it? Like, he turned it on. Whoop.
Yeah, he turned it on to just look at it. Right. But, bro, okay, later in the movie, when they find his lair, lair, by the way, is a gigantic building in the middle of Gotham. That is some ice cream shop company, or something, right? A gigantic building, super obvious. And they get there when he's not home or something, and it's all, I guess, warm, room temp or something. And IcedMan comes sneaking in, right? Like sneaking around, and he turns on this gigantic power switch for ice.
It's just ice. Why would he eat?
Why would he have that at all? He can't live in the non-ice, so why have that be an option?
It's just a lever that says ice and heat.
Ice.
He just
Under what circumstances would he turn that to heat?
He never would, unless like his henchmen are like, I'm so cold. Like when he goes on a mission, I'm just
going through
turn the heat on.
Yeah, they're just trolling the IcedMan. Okay, but so at this first raid, right? He's at the library or the fucking art museum. Who cares?
Yeah, art museum. Yeah.
But he's just, I guess he's waiting there, right? He's there alone. And there's the gigantic diamond in the middle of the room, and he's there alone. He's just taking his time, right? This is a Austin Powers level Dr. Evil stunt, right? Where he's making it unnecessarily complex and stuff.
Just grab it and go.
And like he just grabs it and go.
He froze everyone else. He just take it and leave.
Commissioner Gordon tells Batman, while Batman is still in the Batcave, that IcedMan is already there, freezing guards and stuff, right?
Yes.
The Batcave is way outside of the city or something. I don't know. He has miles of underground track just to get to the road.
Right.
And meanwhile, this diamond is just in the middle of the room where he parked his car at. Right? He backed into this parking spot in the middle of this gallery, and yet he took his time to get this diamond that's just sitting there. But okay, so he gets the diamond, whatever. Batman and Robin don't do shit, right?
Batman does a luge down a giant dinosaur. That was, I mean, that
it was
was his
like
intro.
he had those soap shoes, right? He was like doing like rail grinding down the stegosaur or the brontosaurus or something. and so he gets the diamond, right? And he gets back to his car, but it turns out that car is also a rocket ship.
Fucking rocket.
It's a rocket.
Back of a truck.
Of a car.
Whatever that thing is, a tin can.
And so Dr. Freeze launches this rocket from the middle of the library.
Where's the propulsion come from? Like how does this work? How does the rocket have enough stabilization to launch? I had so many questions on this because he's also standing. He's in the rocket and he has one analog dial that says altitude. And he's just standing in front of it.
He's standing in front of a wall.
He just pushes a button.
Doesn't even have a window. It's just the altitude dial. He launches, right? That's his getaway car. Well, shoot. Batman was trapped inside when he launched, and then Robin clung to the outside, right? Okay, so now
super magnet.
This is literally Dr. Evil, right? In Austin Powers escaping in the rocket, right? And so Dr. Freeze brought a vehicle to the library.
Yes.
Backed it into this corner of the room. Presumably to have a quick getaway, right?
Right. He wanted it facing out so he could get out.
Yes. But turns out he needed to escape via rocket, or had that option, right? It had that as an option.
Sure. I guess.
And so when Batman gets trapped in there, Dr. Evil decides, well, Mr. Freeze says, well, I'll just take you up to space so that you freeze in space.
Yeah, 30,000 feet.
And I'll just leave with my ice jetpack.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And so what was the point of that rocket? Because at best, Batman didn't get in it, right? So then Mr. Freeze would then let's say Batman didn't show up at all. Right? Would Mr. Freeze still leave via the rocket? Just blast off through the ceiling?
Oh, there was the element
get to altitude and bunt.
But yeah, there was the element where Batman and Robin are like, after Freeze jumps out, who just happens to have these tiny ass wings, which there's no way you could like survive flying with those. But Batman's like, we gotta blow this ship up because it's gonna crash into Gotham,
right?
It's gonna destroy the whole city. It's like, what? Why? Like,
treated it as a bomb.
It's the size of a car. Like, it's not like it's blowing up all its fuel, and when it comes back down, it'll just be.
Well, didn't Dr. Freeze say that he was gonna send Batman to space?
Yeah.
So there was no threat of it going to Gotham.
I was reading.
But they had to plant these bat bombs, right?
Yeah.
And blow it up. So
he just needed an excuse.
Yeah, but did you see that rocket had a little cup holder specifically for the diamond? Because Dr. Freeze was in there. He was staring at the wall, right? He put the diamond in this cup holder, and then as soon as he left, he took it out of the cup holder and was just free-handing that giant diamond all the way back down to Gotham. When he could have had an ice pouch or something, right?
Right.
Or a little compartment in his suit to put that thing in. But
another compartment where he could just throw things in. Besides energy pellets.
So speaking, when you brought up the fact that these wings wouldn't support him in any way, right? Okay, so Batman and Robin, they escape the rocket and ski air. What do you call that when you're like parachuting, but you have a snowboard on your feet or something? There's a term for that one.
I don't know, but it reminded me of
that's what they're both doing.
Silver Surfer flying around.
Yeah,
from Fantastic Four.
So they're airboarding on the doors to the rocket that they punched out, right?
Yeah. Yep.
and they catch up to Dr. Freeze, take his wings. And so Mr. Freeze arrested his fall from space by just freezing just shooting his freeze beam into an exhaust pipe.
Yeah.
And somehow that slowed him down. Like it provided reverse thrust or something from his freeze can. And Robin made this comment like, he's freezing the pipes. He's freezing the furnace. As if that means something to us, the audience. That means nothing, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but this.
If anything, he took care of the pollution that it was offshooting, right?
It was, but this was a funny part. So he gets down, and then Batman and Robin are chasing him, and he just keeps opening doors. Like they're like 2-foot concrete doors that he keeps pushing open, but Batman and Robin can never catch him, despite the fact that he's pushed open like 5 of them. Like he literally has to stop, plant, push, run, stop, plant, push, run. And he pushes 5 of them. And then finally they get to this like opening. And then Robin's just like, I'm going to get him. And then
let's go.
Freezes him. And then Mr. Freeze is like, well, you got to decide if you're going to save Robin or you're going to come get the bad guy. And it's like, well, he has to save Robin, blah, blah, blah. Throws him in a tube or a bath and heats it up because he has these little heater
laser pointer
ray guns. Yeah. Yeah.
So
then this is
okay.
What's the next part? We just go to you find out who Ivy is, Poison Ivy. She is this lady that is obsessed with trying to crossbreed plants with venomous snakes and stuff because she wants her plants being able to fight back against predators. And she finds out that the scientist that she's been working with has been behind the sealed door. And she's like, I don't understand. We're supposed to work together, but he's doing different experiments. And then she finally just is like, I'm just going to push the door open and I'll see what he's doing. And it turns out like the UN is there and some unknown person is
anti-UN.
Anti-UN. Oh, I missed that. Makes much more sense. Okay, the anti-UN shows up and this guy has developed this serum that will make superhumans and make them controllable and unstoppable. And this is where they bring in Bane. And they pour venom basically into these 3 holes that they've pre-drilled into his body. And he turns into just super muscle man and crazy and starts killing people. But the scientist ends up killing the lady that plays Poison Ivy and basically pouring all the venom and all the plants and all the snakes on top of her. And then she falls into the ground like it just like seeps in. And then she just reappears as Poison Ivy. Kills him because she has venom on her lips, and then off we go. She takes Bane with her and she's going to Gotham. Apparently that's where she decides to go.
At this point in the movie, the rest of this movie just drags on forever. This is where
it fight Gala. Like, this is where it kicks in.
It's just painful at this point. So some other interesting things here about Mr. Freeze. His whole deal is that if he collects enough big ass diamonds, he can build a bigger ray gun and freeze more things at once. Right? I think that's the kind of he wanted to hold government's ransom for more funding to save his wife from Mr. Nimitz disease or whatever they were calling that thing.
The made up disease that is called McGregor's syndrome.
McGregor's syndrome, stage 5, stage 20. He has stages 1 through 19 cured. No worries.
Yeah,
but
just
stage
that
20
one. He
is
just can't get it.
Can't get it, and so he's trying to build this bigger and bigger ice ray so that he can get unlimited funding from governments to continue his research, right? Like any good scientist,
right?
And joins forces with Poison Ivy, and who cares? And so there was one more costume that had nipples, Spenny, if you notice this.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, there's in one of your galas that you're talking about, Poison Ivy appears and crashes the party in a gorilla suit.
Oh yeah.
And those gorillas had conical nips as well.
Hell yeah. Must be a big thing back then. I don't know what the big deal was. Before that gala though, I want to talk about so you mentioned that Bruce Wayne is trying to trap Mr. Freeze with diamonds. So he's talking about this telescope, and they're donating all these diamonds and stuff to this telescope to make it super powerful and connect to satellites. But at the end, like they're all like kind of checking this thing out, but one of the scientists is like, "Come, let me show you the central control grid." Like, why would they show the central control grid to this telescope and how it works and all that stuff to just common folk, people that can just come in and like hack it and that kind of stuff? I just thought it was kind of a interesting little tidbit. But
well, one interesting thing about this telescope that wasn't revealed until the final scene where Mr. Freeze was freezing Gotham.
Yeah.
It made me wonder if we've been thinking about telescopes wrong this whole time, because this bad boy, this telescope by design can point down.
Yeah. Also, not to mention it points down, but the second he puts his gun into it, literally everything freezes on it, yet somehow it can still move. So like everything is frozen, so it can't move. But then the mirrors don't work. Those got frozen over.
That
go
satellite connection.
The
mirrors,
satellite connection
right?
mirrors, yeah, which is always interesting. Pick and choose, I guess.
I didn't realize that. I mean, maybe my understanding of radio waves and stuff has been wrong this whole time, but I wasn't aware that you receive radio signals through mirrors. Like that's how you communicate by radio waves, is through mirrors. Reflecting the white signal.
You didn't learn that in industrial tech? Must have failed.
No, I was in detention, man. We talked about this. I was in detention all the time. But yeah, just the fact that this fucking telescope points down to the city.
Okay, so there's a few other things I just want to mention. So in this film, Alfred is sick, and his niece comes to see him, but it turns out she knows he's sick, and that's why she's coming to check on him. But Alfred literally is sitting at a computer, and he's like, I gotta find my brother Wilfred. He also is a butler working for a royal court in India. I can't find him, but I really need to tell him all these secrets that I have. And then he makes a mini disc of information to get to Wilfred that he's like, this is the last known address I have. This is literally all the secrets to Batman that I have. I hope it gets to you, my brother. It's like,
what was his plan?
What are you doing?
How, I mean, legitimately, what was his plan to get that information to Wilfred?
I can't get
over
that
he was still alive.
I can't get over that his brother's name is Wilfred and his name is Alfred. Just it's like, and they're both butlers,
right? So he uses the Bat network, right, to get information on every human soul on the world, and can't find Wilfred at all, right?
Right.
So his plan was to put everything on a CD and leave it in a drawer in his desk.
Yep.
It was his plan to get the information
encryption code on it
to his uncle, to his brother. Now,
sure.
So Alfred had this niece, right? So his sister had a daughter.
Yeah.
Alfred's fucking 100 years old or something, right?
and
his niece is 18, right?
Yeah, that also didn't make sense.
And his mom, and the mom, right? The mom was the picture that they kept showing her. The mom, the sister, Alfred's sister, a picture of her in their 20s from
Black and
the
white. Yeah, from
1800s, right?
Yeah. Didn't make any sense.
And this dead person's daughter is an 18-year-old at Oxford or something.
Right.
And she shows up, right? She shows up to Wayne Manor with a suitcase. Surprise, Uncle Alfred. What's up? And
Missed you.
Alfred's, he says, oh, she's visiting from, or she's, goes to school in London and stuff. Yeah. So where are you going to stay?
Yeah.
So are you going to stay here or something? You can't stay here. And she shows up with a suitcase, right? And Alfred says, where are you going to stay?
Where do you think I'm going to stay? Uncle Alfred.
And so the fact that she knows she's just inseparable from Alfred, just they've have such this great relationship, and they've, done so many things together, and yet Bruce Wayne has no fucking clue that Alfred has any family at all.
Any family at all.
And so Alfred waits on him hand and foot, right? Dawn to dusk. And so where logistically would Alfred have had the time to have this secret other life?
I don't know. It's one of the other thing that was interesting with Alfred is, so Batman kept visiting him like after like they found out he was sick, and they kept having these flashbacks, and like he would look off into places. Like there was one in the hallway where like he falls and Alfred helps pick him up and stuff. But there was one that was super weird where he was literally looking out and it's pitch black in a window. And all of a sudden it's full brightness. It's it's in a cemetery, and he's putting flowers on a headstone, and it's like, what? Like, it's pitch black. No one can see that. Like, if you're gonna have a flashback, make it so it's like the same lighting. Otherwise, this is so weird.
I mean, not to mention the fact. Okay, so the earlier memory that you were talking about, where he trips and falls, the memory is of him tripping and falling in that hallway, right? It would be one thing in the scene that you're describing if he was looking at the like Wayne Cemetery or something, right? No, he's not. It's, to your point, what he's looking at has no reference to what the memory is.
Just a black window. You can't see anything. It's literally pitch black. Yeah.
So at one point this niece, she's always sneaking out to use Robin's motorcycles and stuff.
Yeah.
And, turns out that she's a bit of a daredevil, and she participates in these super dangerous motorcycle races, underground racing. Did you ever play the game Road Rash?
Yep.
In the 90s?
That
motorcycle scene reminded me so much of that, because this is an old game. I think my sister and I played it on a computer.
Yeah.
And you rode motorcycles, but then you had you had to knock the other riders off with nunchucks and chains
weapons and stuff. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was super fun. And I hadn't thought about that game in years until that scene. And
that was it, man.
I don't know. It was just like it.
It was just like it, and it was like Robin was just finally caught her one time, like going racing, and it's like she gives a persona of like this, goes to this fancy school and stuff, and then she's down in like, I don't know, like the junkyard, like racing with all these other guys. Coolio being the ringleader, by the way.
He had a little cameo, yeah. Coolio cameo.
But yeah, so Robin and her are doing a race, and they get tripped and almost die, and then it kind of like connects them to become, I don't know, like a brother and sister or something. I don't know. Where do we go from here?
Well, I have one more just comment on the logistics of some of this stuff.
Sure.
So towards the end, Poison Ivy is in her final form, right? And how many times is she fucking breathing her mist into? That was just, it had to have been over a dozen times.
Well, the question I have is
maneuver.
I mean, I know that like there's pheromones and they became like fascinated by her, but at some point, wouldn't you be like, why are you blowing into my face?
Mm-hmm.
Like she did it multiple times to people, like while talking. And I'd be like, this isn't normal. I mean, I've never been under the trance of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just love drug, man.
It's really annoying, to be frank.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I mean, it would do it once or twice, right?
Yeah.
But it was the only thing she did.
It's like her only thing. Well, she did try to fight Batgirl, and then she got her butt kicked. Yeah. So, I mean,
so that's leading to my point, where in her final scene with her, and as Poison Ivy, she's battling all three of them, right? Mm-hmm. And it takes Batgirl. It takes, the boys are too weak mentally to put up with Poison Ivy, and so Batgirl has to come in and
save the day,
not be subject to all that crap. But so she Batgirl drop kicks her into her plant chair.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point in the movie, Poison Ivy can at will summon
plants,
snakes and plants and vines and stuff, right? And she appears to Robin in this orchid thing, gigantic flower, and Batgirl drop kicks her, and she winds up in that flower, and then the flower eats her,
traps her. Yeah, that didn't make any sense.
The whole point of Poison Ivy is that she can control plants, and so
she say, "Let me go,"
plant eat her,
and it'd be like, "Oh, sorry."
So, anyways.
There was a scene, so she knocks Robin Hood off because he has rubber lips on, so her venom is through her lips, so when she kisses people it kills them. But he had rubber lips on, and he takes them off, and she gets mad, she kicks him.
Always use protection.
Yeah, always use protection. And he's like struggling underwater because vines are like holding him down and stuff. But there's a scene where like literally he comes up for air, and then they just rewound the tape. Like he comes up. And
I saw that too.
I was like, oh, why?
Yeah,
why you
yeah. And then like, meanwhile, Batman is tangled up in his own system of vines, right?
Right.
Until he pulls out the bat saw. But it was the mix for that was so just fucked, because he pulls out the bat saw and he goes just completely blows out everything else in the scene.
It was awesome. Yeah.
God, it was so fucking loud.
Yeah. But this culmination leads up to the final epic battle where literally this telescope has like 20 diamonds that are like 10 pounds each, all the same shape, right? In a circle. Just, and then it just happens to be that Mr. Freeze's gun that he's been collecting all these diamonds for fits perfectly.
It's the exact
right
shape.
In the middle. It's the perfect size, like it was made for him. And then he just starts freezing everybody, and then they have the battle, and then eventually Mr. Freeze gets defeated, and then they find out that, Alfred has the same disease his wife had, but only stage 1.
Stage 1.
He can save her, and he just happens to have the vials sitting in his arm, and has the classic line of "Take 2 of these and call me in the morning." And then he goes to prison.
Yeah. That line was a bit cheesy, I have to say, because
he's Mr. Freeze, not Dr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze was a scientist, right? And as a fellow doctor scientist, we don't mess with the whole, we're not MDs, right?
Right.
So doing the MD line as a scientist is a bit unrealistic, I have to say, for this, otherwise perfect movie.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that. That's too bad. This whole thing ends, blah, blah, blah. Everybody moves on. Alfred survives. Celebrate. Good times. Come on. This is the first Batman movie not to be nominated for an Academy Award of any kind.
What the fuck? Why were any of the others before that?
I don't know, man. I mean,
I
some
mean, the
are
other
good.
ones were like
I mean, the ones
Penguin and
after this,
shit, right? I mean, the one like the Christopher Nolan ones, sure, but
yeah, Christopher Nolan, he's the one that took over after this. So like things went way up after that. But
yeah, but
yeah, I don't know.
you
I
can't
don't
tell
know
me
what
any of
they
the
were
other
being
ones were
nominated on.
worth consideration, right?
I mean, I feel like I mean, we saw most of those. I mean, I know the Val Kilmer one was pretty good, so that's
Well,
fair. But the
did
some of
that
the
one at
other ones,
least?
like the Michael Keaton one, and I don't know. I'm
So
not.
we were talking about this last time, but so the Val Kilmer one must have had Jim Carrey in it, right? As the
Yeah, I think that's where I
Riddler.
was getting
Okay,
confused. Yep.
okay,
Because I knew Robin was in that one, so that's why I was getting kind of messed up.
okay.
A couple other tidbits for you on this. George Clooney hates the film. No surprise. He's been rumored at various times to, if you meet George Clooney and you tell him you saw the film, he'll give you your money back. And it states that he apologizes for the movie. However, he says that he does credit this film with leading him into becoming a leading man in Hollywood, because it was kind of his first step, because he was only a TV actor. We kind of talked about that. So he appreciates that. And let's see, what else do I got?
It's hard to imagine George Clooney being not well known, you know.
I know, it's weird. I mean, we're talking about like 26 years ago now. It's kind of weird to think too.
Yeah.
Chris O'Donnell said that he felt this one was comparing this one to Batman Forever, which was the first one that we're talking about with Val Kilmer. It felt like everything was a little soft the second time. He felt like he was making a real movie in Batman Forever, but the second time he felt like he was making a kid's toy commercial. And so that's kind of his big complaint.
I wonder, yeah, where this movie somehow helped launch George Clooney's career. Mm-hmm. Maybe it destroyed Chris O'Donnell's career.
Yeah, it sounds like there's actually conversations after Batman Forever that they were trying to do a spin-offs for Robin Hood, like a series or movies, which I'm not surprised in what we know with like, you know, Marvel Universe and all that stuff. But it sounds like it kind of just killed everything. And this has been called one of the worst superhero movies ever made, if not one of the worst movies ever. And neither George Clooney or director Joel Schumacher defend it. So
it's another moron movie, huh?
Yeah.
I love that. That was the car movie, right? That was the Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah.
The Stephen
Moron
King
movie.
saying it's a moron movie.
Yep. There's a lot of those. Well,
where does that land us, Spenny?
This is the Ascension to TED podcast. We have 11-point rating scale, goes from Ascension to 10. Ascension being the worst thing you've ever seen, 10 being the greatest thing you've ever seen. This one, it's bad. I'm not gonna lie. I've been trying to think about the recent ones we did. So last week I feel like were we over generous with Cosmo Ball? But I feel like I really enjoyed that one, so I don't think I really regret the score I gave it. 4.4, 3.6.
3.6 is pretty darn high for me.
Yeah.
I have to say, I think if I remember right, because it exceeded so many expectations, that raised the score. I mean, I'll go on record right now and say that Batman and Robin is an Ascension. It's not even a question for me.
Wow.
Fucking sucked.
Yeah, that's pretty bad, man. I'll give it a 0.8. 0.8. I enjoyed this slightly
worse than Cold Zone. That's awesome. I mean, fair. I enjoyed this worse than Cold Zone for sure.
Yeah.
Although I gave Cold Zone a 0.02. So
I know, that's why I was saying. I mean, you could have given this a 0.01. I mean, it's basically an Ascension.
No.
But thank you, Doug, for the recommendation. I know you didn't appreciate. I mean, didn't enjoy the film as much as the other Batmans. Doug is a big fan of Batman, so that's kind of where this one comes from. So thank you for that.
Gotcha. Yes, thank you, Doug.
As always, we do appreciate recommendations, and we do have another recommendation for another film, and it's Black Adam, and that is the Rock DC comic one, which recently, I think, it just came out in 2022, right? I think.
Yeah, sounds right.
So, that'll be the next one under review. So, wait, taking the glasses off, taking the ski mask off. Can't handle it anymore.
Ooh, there we go.
Sweating it out over there.
Ooh-wee.
So that is what we'll be reviewing next week. I don't know what to expect with it. I've heard mixed reviews on it. I know that The Rock kind of disowned it in a way. So we'll see.
I've only heard bad things about it.
Okay. Well, good.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, Spenny mentioned this last week. We don't do superhero movies, right?
This is apparently the month of superhero movies.
Yeah.
This will be our first one, right?
Yes.
And then, well, we did this week is superheroes, but this one will come out in February. I think February 1st. Yeah. And then we'll do this one. Oh, we're gonna have to find 2 more superhero ones. Just make it a full month of it. We'll see. But
TBD on that.
Yeah. This is the Ascension to 10 podcast. Yeah. Go ahead, Jed.
I was gonna say, meanwhile, we're gonna have to think of some more records to break.
Yeah, I mean, now you really got me thinking. So if anyone has recommendations of records that we should try, or if you want to try your hand at decrusting bread in under 5 seconds, it has to be sourdough, farm to market from Kansas City. Yeah.
While hosting a podcast.
Maybe we'll just have some guests come on, and that'll be our thing. They'll come guest appearance and see if they can do it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. So the time to beat is 6.46 seconds.
Solid.
So send in your submissions, I guess.
Yeah.
Or
let's get it
right
on
to us.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We hold the record.
That's right. One thing I did forget, if you want to support us, Patreon, it's patreon.com/A210. You can be a patron and support the podcast. And to enjoy the content that is coming out on this podcast, we would appreciate this support. But also you can find us on our socials, Ascension 2 TEN, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and then Ascension to 10 podcast on YouTube. But until next time, he's Jad. I'm Spenny.
Bye.
Bye.